Create for some reason, it says it looks like the broadcast to stream on LinkedIn, create a new. For some reason, it's not allowing me to stream live. Okay.
I'm seeing it says live in the upper corner.
Okay. So it's going live on YouTube. So we're just going to go for it, and then we'll post it to LinkedIn. For some reason, it's not allowing me. So we'll just cut off this part where I'm like trying to figure it out. Okay. Awesome. We'll just go from here. So it is a very special day. I'm really excited to have this conversation with Karen Pilla of Oracle. Karen, you've accomplished so many amazing things. I cannot wait to learn from you some gems of wisdom. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, before we get into, your journey, how you've achieved what you have, the impact that you're having at Oracle, and these gems of wisdom that we're talking about, I thought we'd take a look back and find out a little bit about your story, what has inspired you to get into the work that you're doing, and also what has inspired you and given you really the mental toughness and perseverance to be a woman in technology for the last, I would imagine, a couple decades.
It has been a couple decades. Okay, so give me a little bit about my story. I am from Philadelphia. I grew up in the city. I went to school in the city as well. I went to a very strong local university and studied business. It was St. Joseph's University, in case anybody wants to know. I started as a marketing major because I wanted to be in sales, because that's what my father did. That was what I knew, and that's what I understood, and thought it was interesting and exciting. And then I realized that's not for me. I don't have that personality for that. So I added information systems as my secondary major, and realized that computers was something, and technology was something that I was very interested in, and it grabbed my attention, and I wanted to do more and learn more about it and be part of that industry. I was lucky enough, out of college, had a job and worked for a company called Primavera Systems. And I started at the bottom. I started in technical support. I was hired to be on the phones, talking to customers, helping them with their problems. And through that, I realized also that maybe I didn't have the personality to be in sales, but I do like to talk to customers. I do like to talk to people. I like to interact with others, and helping them solve their problems. That's why they're calling. They have a problem. Helping them solve their problems made me feel good. It made me, I enjoyed that work, even though it was sometimes very stressful as someone screaming at you on the other end of the phone. But it was something that kept me interested. And I started with Primavera, and we were small. We were a small company. And being as part of that small company, I had opportunities to do things that you may not have in a larger company. When I started there, we didn't have a consulting organization, because we were so small, and it wasn't something that we did. But as we started to realize that we needed a consulting organization, people from the customer support organization were going out and doing consulting. So I got to go out to customer sites and help them solve problems or set up systems and, get them moving as part of their implementations. And learned through the years that I was interested in, like I said, helping customers. And my journey within the organization, moved. I was in customer support, did some, when we had the consulting, I did training, I did, you do a breadth of things when you're in a role like that in a small organization, and moved up into a management role. And I was a manager of support people for many, many years. And, as we started to develop very large customer bases, big companies were using our software, we needed a program to what we called corporate support. So we had a dedicated team just for our largest customers. And I wanted to run that. I wanted to be involved in that, and worked with teams where we supported our largest organizations and helped them through their implementations and their solutions. And, we were on the phones with them 24/7 type of situations. And it was sometimes that's difficult and stressful, but it still was, I realized that, being part of that organization taught me a lot. I learned, when you're in support, you learn everything, right? You learn the products very well. You learn you learn all the solutions that you have to support. And at the time, you supported when I was there, you supported everything. You weren't specialized in any particular product. You learn how to test. You learn how to interact with customers and help them do implementations. You learn a lot. You learn all about the organization, and it's a great training ground as a way to, as a place to start in a company. You don't have to start out I'm in development operations now. I never knew my path was going to bring me there as when I started out in support. I worked in support for a very long time, on their phones, managing organizations. And I started to realize that I wanted to make a difference in the products themselves. I wanted to help define or help solve or fix the problems that our customers were having. I wanted to be on the other side of it. I wanted to be on the side of building the solutions and helping build the products for the customers, because I knew what they needed. I knew what they wanted. I knew how to talk to them. So I wanted to be part of the development side of it. But I'm not a programmer. I'm not a technical person. I know enough to be dangerous in that world. So I found it, but I did find roles within our development organization that allowed me to be creative, solve problems, talk to customers, and make the products better. And I moved into what at the time we called functional designer. Now sometimes it's called business analyst type of role, where we were taking requirements and defining what it looked like. Back then we didn't have user experience. So we used Microsoft Paint to make screens and make them look pretty so that the developers could build them. But, it was a nice transition from understanding how our customers use the software to being able to take that knowledge and help build better solutions for our customers. And I've had, spent many years in our development organizations as well, managing development teams. We were doing agile development at the time. So I was running agile development teams, programmers, testers, all of that. And moved a little bit around from there because we had gotten acquired started at Primavera. I moved into the development organization. We were acquired by Oracle. And for me in a development organization, I didn't feel much of a difference through that change. It wasn't a big challenge for us because they kind of, honestly, they let us do our thing. The development organizations, we could continue to build and grow and do the things we needed to do. So I didn't feel much of a transition to Oracle. It was scary, definitely scary to go from a small locally owned company to Oracle. But it worked out well for us. It worked out well for me because I'm still here. But because I worked for a small organization and then I worked in, being as part of Oracle, we were one of the, what they call global business units. We sort of run a little bit independently, and I was able to move to and try out different roles and different responsibilities and continue to grow within the same organization. So I started out of college with Primavera, and I think it's kind of rare to still, in essence, I'm still with the same company, 20 some years later. But I think that's because I was given the freedom to try different roles, try different opportunities, and move around and learn the business from different angles. So as I said, I was in development, and then I moved into, for a short time, I was in like a cloud management role where I knew nothing about the cloud at the time, but I was in a role where we were helping our cloud customers. I was managing projects with our cloud customers, and I got thrown into the fire, and I learned about the cloud business with no experience at all. But it was a great opportunity. I was there for, a number of months. I actually wasn't there that long, but it was a great opportunity for me because I was sort of at a dead end in the development roles that I was in, and I jumped into this cloud role thinking I'm going to learn all about the cloud, and I did. I don't know everything, but I knew enough. And at the time, it was a growing area that we didn't know enough about, and I got to learn with my peers, I got to learn with my organization, and we all grew together about how do we do this, how do we support customers, how do we deliver cloud solutions. So it was I learned a lot, and then moved into the opposite side of a development role, which is what I think of as the opposite side. It was product strategy. So I moved into a product strategy role where instead of taking in the development organization, I was taking the requirements and building the solutions or helping build those solutions. On the product strategy side, I was figuring out what are those requirements, talking to our customers, going to conferences, meeting with customers on a regular basis to talk about what's the next thing that they need that's going to drive the business forward and make our customers happy. And then working with the development teams to prioritize, build, and get those things to market for our customers. So I've seen both sides of that world. And now I'm back in a development organization where Oracle has, I mentioned we were part of the construction and engineering business unit. So Oracle has a number of different business units. Each of those business units has their own development organization, and they sort of run independently of each other. I'm in a role now where we're sort of working across those business units and across those development roles. And I'm working towards helping them, can we provide and streamline processes so that we're more efficient, that the developments, this is how Oracle releases products, cloud products. How can we improve that process so that all the GBUs or the business units are consistent? It's fast, it's easy to use, it's intuitive, and we can get products out to the market faster and cut through the red tape, those types of things. And we're also doing a lot around helping the business units understand their business, understand their product portfolios, so that they're making the right decisions, and they have the information that they need to understand their product stance, whether that be from a revenue perspective or from a technical perspective, an architecture perspective. Where can they improve their products so that they can, improve their margins or their bottom line or, whatever, reduce their costs, those types of things. So I've seen the business from all different angles. And, for me, the important piece to it has been, I'm always learning. Now that I'm cross business units, I'm learning about all the different business units and what the kinds of customers that they solve, or customer problems that they solve, and how they work within the different industries. And for me, that's an important part of my journey through my roles is, am I always learning? Am I always learning more about myself, more expanding my skills, and learning more about the business? And that's been important to me, and has been something that I've been able to do within the same organization for a lot of years. And also, as the customer angle for me has always been important. Being able to talk to customers, understand customers. I'm in a different role now where my customers are internal. And that was a bit of a shift for me, because I'm used to getting out and, going to conferences and talking to customers, being on the phone with them and talking about what they're doing, how they're using the software. Now my customers are other Oracle employees, which is a little bit different, but it's, like I said, it's always been, it's a good challenge, and it teaches me something every day.
Yeah. And I want to pull out a couple really, you said a lot of important things, but one thing is, especially for emerging leaders, it sounds like sometimes maybe we have in our minds something that we went to school, we're going to do this, or we're, this far into our career path and we want to get from here to here in this vertical or whatever. But one thing that it seems like you did that ended up, maybe it wasn't perfect at the time, but it ended up really serving you, is that just be willing to learn where you get put, and maybe assume that, if you end up in one position that's not in your mind as ideal, that maybe it's for a reason, and maybe at the end of the day, it's really going to help you. And so I
would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that is really important for emerging leaders to keep in the back of their mind, because it seems like you knew from fairly early on that you wanted to interface with customers, but maybe you weren't in the frontline salesperson. So you could have definitely made the shift a lot earlier, but you were open to seeing different sides of the business when those opportunities arose. And at the end of the day, you ended up where you were meant to and where you wanted to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely been a journey of, is this the right thing for me? And is this where I want to be? And how does this, how do I keep moving forward? Not necessarily forward up the ladder, but forward for myself, for my own personal growth. And, I mentioned that I worked for a while in a cloud type role, and I wasn't there very long. And part of the reason I wasn't there very long was it took me away from the customer, in that I was managing people internally, and I wasn't really talking with the customers as much as I wanted to. And it took me away from what I realized when I was in that role was, yeah, I was sometimes talking to customers and I was dealing with customer issues, but it took me away from a role where I could help make things better for the customers.
Mhm.
And, especially on the product side, it took me away from the products, which is where I was really, it was important to me. So that's when another opportunity opened up in the product strategy organization, that's probably a better fit for what I want to do and where I want to go. So I slightly detoured, but as you said, it was important that I did that because it taught me things that I didn't have any experience with. And it really helped. It helped me in other ways in terms of, now I have a knowledge of cloud that I didn't have before. So as I'm developing product, I'm making better decisions for our cloud customers.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, there's definitely detours along the way.
yeah, and it seems like you always had that North Star, but you were just gave yourself permission to kind of take a little detour knowing that you would end up back there. And I think that that is so important, because if you think back, that if you were very rigid, then you probably maybe you wouldn't have the opportunity or be able to serve at this amazing level that you're serving at right now. So I think that's really an important message. And also, going back when we were talking about it a little before, and also going back to the topic of this discussion when we were talking about keeping products and people on track during disruptive times, this is, we touched on it a little bit, but 2020, okay, as my best friend always likes to say, it is what it is, or it was what it was. And then seemed to hobble very competently through January, like, they're just kind of made it through. But now February has been pretty rough. And for a lot of people, at least what I'm hearing from one-on-one clients, some of the cohorts I'm working with. And can you shed a little bit of light on how to help keep people, this is a twofold question, how to keep people and products on track during disruptive times, and also too, and this is under the umbrella of this question, but if you have people in an organization that are disruptive, and maybe they're emotional contagion, or maybe they're negative or something, what can you shed a little light on, generally speaking, some advice on how to manage products and people during now that we're in year 2 of the pandemic, but also too, when you layer it on some people that have kind of hit the wall, but done it in a bad way, and they're kind of spreading and kind of infecting, I hate to use that word, but infecting other the negativity.
Yeah, I think the key word there is flexible. You have to be flexible during these times. And one of the things that I have been really stressing with my team, as well as the products that we're building for the organizations, is it's okay to hit that wall, and take some time for yourself, and understand that we're working and living in crazy times right now. So it's not going to be like it always was. And especially when the pandemic started, most of my team, we were in the office together. And I had a couple remote people, but most of my team was located centrally in the same office. And we all started working from home. And there was a period of adjustment for the entire team that started to work from home because they weren't used to it. And they felt, I remember having conversations with a couple different people on my team about how they felt unproductive the first couple of weeks, the first month or so, because it was just such a shift. And what I kept saying to them was, give yourself time. It is a change. We'll get through it. It's okay to not always feel productive, because it is going to be a challenge for all of us. And it was that giving I feel like giving the team is, and I'll talk a little bit about the product as well, but giving the team the ability to say, it is the ability for them to know that they could be okay. And I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but giving them the freedom to, or the ability to accept that maybe they didn't have the best day today, but they'll do better tomorrow. And I'm not going to, I'm not looking at them every day and saying, what did you produce today? What did I understand, because I'm going through it too. And I think that has been, for me, the most important piece of being able to keep my people productive, is making sure that they understand that we can be flexible. I've had people who have had to take time off for, go work with, help take care of family members, go do what you need to do. And trying to help them strike that work-life balance has been extremely important, I think, for my team. And also trying to have fun with them too. Mm-hmm. And we do our weekly staff call, and we talk about topics that we need to, cross-team topics, things that we have to discuss as a group. But every now and again, I try to throw something a little bit fun into the mix for our weekly call, just to, off topic, but just to have a little bit of humor and enjoyment in their work day, because you don't get that when you're not together in an office as much. You might walk by somebody's desk and make a funny comment and you laugh for a few minutes and you release some stress, but you don't have that when you're working from home all the time. So just trying to do, and I'm not a, you don't see me running around trying to play games with people in the office all the time, but I feel like there's been an opportunity that this is a good thing to do every now and again. So, in fact, this past week we just did a little quizzo type thing on our staff call, and I asked a bunch of questions and tallied points, and we made fun of each other about, who got the wrong answer, who got the right answer, but it was a good stress reliever and reminder to the team that it's, you have to let off some of that steam and just enjoy each other's company sometime too. And I think that helps them stay productive. And I've also had conversations with my team where I'm like, if you just need to vent to me, just to share how, you're tired of the snow, because we have a lot of snow out here right now. I'm okay with that too. And, I'm not going to, it's okay it's okay to feel a little down sometimes and feel unproductive, but get right back on that horse and you'll get your things done. Mm-hmm. For our product, it's been a challenge sometimes for that same reason, because my team a lot of my team is developing product, and it does impact some of that productivity. It's being realistic and flexible again about what our deadlines are, when we can deliver things. I had a good chunk of my team working on, Oracle has been heavily involved with building pandemic response applications for all the things that are happening with COVID. And a couple of my team members worked on those projects, and I'm proud of them for doing those, for being involved in those projects. They were stressful, but they got it done, and they're helping. I joke with them, like, you're helping save the world. It's a good thing. It's as stressful as it is. You're helping mankind. So it's important. But it slowed us down, because I had two very productive team members who weren't available for 3-4 months.
Wow, so it was to say days.
No, it was months. It was months, and it was a challenge. But it was, for me as the leader of the team, letting the team know that it's okay. Letting my team members, who they were trying to do both. They were trying to complete the things on my backlog and do their work for the pandemic. Like, just forget our backlog. You have to do what you need to do for the pandemic. But then from my end, I needed to make sure, as the leader of the team, I'm communicating up and out where we are and why we are where we are. Okay, we can deliver this, but it's going to be delayed, and here's why. And being honest with people about, here's where we are. we'll get it done. We'll meet our deliverables, but we'll meet our objectives. It may be delivered later than we had originally planned. And I think that has helped both the product and the team, because they know that it's okay, that, I'm here, and they can, they may have days where they're not as productive, and that's okay too. I mean, we don't want that every day, but it's reality now, kids in the background, dogs barking.
I know.
Okay.
So it seems like flexibility is important, and also flexibility for yourself, for your team, and just really keeping your eye on the prize, and also being very honest and having, I mean, that sometimes takes a lot of courage to be honest. And especially when you're reporting to your leadership or reporting to board, and just saying we have full understanding of what's expected of us, we will deliver it. And this is a more realistic timeline, and this is why. I mean, sometimes that sounds so important, but it does take a remarkable amount of courage, I'm sure, sometimes.
It does. And it has served me well over the years. As I've always been that type of person. I'm always going to be honest with you. And there are times where, yes, I'm honest, and someone will say that's the wrong answer, but it hasn't killed me, so I keep going forward, but more often than not, being honest gets me to a better place. And so I feel comfortable going to my executives and my management team and saying, yes, this is where we are. We may be late, because I've done it enough, and it's been the right thing to do. And let me say that again. I've done it enough, and it hasn't hurt me. It's actually helped me rather than hurt me. So yes, it's scary to do that and to be honest like that, but you realize in the end, you have more credibility because you were open and honest about where things stand and what the situations are, rather than hiding things and it being a surprise at the end that, oh, sorry, I didn't tell you we were going to be late. No, you do that up front. You set better expectations. I think it actually reflects better on you. And, I have a reputation, I hope I have a reputation as someone who's honest and open about where we are. And that has served me well.
Yeah. So that's an incredibly important message. At least what I'm hearing is not to be a yes person and say, okay, yeah, no problem, and just take everything and kind of avoid the uncomfortableness up front, but really build your case. And in your case, you have proof and data and facts about how this has served you in the past. So you can start to accumulate that, and that's really helpful too, because it can back up your decision and why you're doing what you're doing and why you will in fact end up on top. So to really lean into that uncomfortableness and be very honest and upfront in the beginning, rather than so you can in the end deliver or over deliver, rather than promise up front and under deliver.
Yes, I agree. And those uncomfortable conversations, whether it be you have to deliver the message that the product isn't going to be ready on time, or it's an uncomfortable conversation with an employee where they may need some feedback on how to do some job coaching, and those conversations are uncomfortable. But the more you do them, the more comfortable you become with them. And as I said, you learn from experience that in the end, the result is probably better than had you ignored it. So it does work.
Definitely, for sure. I've seen it both ways over and over, and I can back you up 100%.
Yeah.
So, of course, with the background I have and the work that I do, I have to ask you what, at the end of the day, you're a woman in technology. You have been for the last couple of decades. What mindset has allowed you not just to stay in the game, but to really climb the proverbial ladder? And not just that, but to have a real impact?
It's a very good question. And I think for me, I was, someone was asking me earlier about this, and I said, what have I learned from being a woman in tech? I've learned that I need to I need to not be afraid to speak up. And I think you and I had talked about this before, was I'm one of the things that I took as my mindset as I moved up in the organization, even when I was, just an individual contributor being asked my opinion on something, being in a meeting where we're sharing ideas and thoughts, I took the opportunities to speak up and speak up early and often. And in some cases that may sound, and you may hear that and you may say, wow, that's aggressive, but it's assertive. It's not aggressive, it's assertive. And I believe that women need to be more assertive in those situations. I think that has helped me, because that was always my mindset, is while I listen to other people's ideas, I also don't sit back and wait for someone to ask me my thoughts and my opinion. If we're in a meeting and there's, people sitting around the table and someone asks, what do we think about, situation X? I will speak up. I'm not afraid to be the first person to speak up, because I think it's important to be seen as someone who is willing to put their ideas out there, willing to talk through things, willing to go out on that limb. And maybe I have a bad idea, but at least we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it also puts me in the forefront of people's minds as well. They know that they will get an opinion or a thought out of me. And I don't just, what I want, my mindset is I don't want to blend into the background.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be someone who is seen as, I get things done. I'm not afraid to share my ideas. Obviously I want to listen to other people's ideas. I want to be involved and included. And for me, that mindset has always been, be the person who's willing to speak up. And I think that has, same with speaking up and being honest, it has served me well, because, I was able to grow my career within the same organization, which is unusual, and, move up the ladder. Yeah, and I would encourage other, especially women, don't sit back, speak up.
Yeah. And I would say women, and also too, it was brought to, when I interviewed Kelly McElhaney, who's she's a professor at the Haas School of Business at Berkeley, but also the founder of Equity, Gender, and Leadership. She made me aware, and I was embarrassed that I wasn't aware of it before, but especially women who are further marginalized within our gender, to speak up. And it's part of this might also be to have courageous allies, because sometimes it is very difficult to do that, or especially if there are egos involved or some things involved that make it difficult. So yes, that is so important, to speak up and be heard. And that is really what the focus and my dedication is to in my career, is to help unlock that in women. And honestly, I have to tell you, this isn't just a message for emerging leaders. I have personally seen and worked with amazing, incredible women that I'm so honored to have worked with one-on-one. And they're internally confident, they're confident with their teams, but when they're speaking to the board, they're speaking with their peers, their CEO, there's certain situations where they're not actually doing that. So your message is very important for emerging leaders, but also leaders such as yourself who've achieved a certain level of success, and that now they have a voice, they have a seat at the proverbial table. But it's so, so important to have that voice at the table, and not just be internally confident, but let your voice and your ideas be heard. Because honestly, I feel like they're more important now than ever. Women have a different perspective than men have, and it's not better or worse. It's not a comparison, but it's just different. And I just think collectively, if all female leaders and emerging leaders can really lean into this and do it well, then we can kind of help course correct the world, so to speak, and get things back on track a little sooner rather than later.
It's true.
And so now, if you were to leave everyone with a message, what is a takeaway or something that people can kind of grab onto and take with them as they go about their days and their weeks and their months going further into 2021?
I would say, continue with the theme that I've been talking about, is, Be strong, be confident in yourself. You are here for a reason. You were hired for a reason. You were in the meeting for a reason. You've been included for a reason. Remember that as you're sitting at that table, at that proverbial table, and feel confident to speak up and share your thoughts. And yes, it's scary, but you need to do it. You should have to do it. And for the other message I would like to share and try to remember for other people is, especially women and emerging leaders, we have to support each other. And I think it's important to, share. It's important to, as I said, support each other. Cheryl, that was a great idea. Let's talk a little bit more about it, and being comfortable calling out those other, as you mentioned, we need to be more diverse, whether that be women or different ethnicities or veterans, those types of groups. We need to support each other. And that to me is an easy way to do that is, hey, that was a great idea. Let's talk about it a little bit more, rather than, just letting a conversation continue. It's like, hey, wait, I want to hold on for a second. Cheryl said something really important a few minutes ago. Let's circle back and talk about that. And so not just speak up for yourself, but speak up for others as well. I think that's really important in a way that we can make the world a bit of a better place and get more voices heard.
Yeah, I couldn't agree 100%. And even if we are doing that, we all have room for improvement. I imagine that you are better than most at doing that. But even we can always think about, okay, how can I do that a little better? How can I up level that and pull people up? Because at the end of the day, it's not just better for everyone. There's enough room for success for everyone. And what is really going to, put a course correction on the state of affairs is going to be a place of, it's going to be increased compassion. It's going to be, lending a hand and lending arm. At the end of the day, benefits you, it benefits other people. And I think that is such an important message. So thank you for sharing that, Karen, Pilla, and thank you for sharing all of these gems of wisdom. I look forward to continuing to follow you. Keep on inspiring, and thanks for your time today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your inviting me and including me. This was a great opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.